My name is Sarah McClenny, and I'm in the nursing program at Clarkson. In the past few years, I've unfortunately had a lot of experience with death, both in the family and a really, really good friend that passed away unexpectedly. Um, this was a couple years ago in 2020 now, so a few years ago. I work at QLI as a CNA, and QLI is a rehab facility here in Omaha for individuals that have endured a brain or spinal cord injury. So we get people from all across the country, sometimes across the world, um, to get rehab and learn how to use adaptive equipment and find a job and just a new way of life post injury. And one of the residents I was extremely close to, he was only 19 when his injury occurred. He was walking across the street and he was hit by a car, leaving him paralyzed from the neck down, the top of the neck down. And he was an athlete and about to start college and had his whole future ahead of him. So, absolutely understandably, he was extremely depressed and everything. And he had been at QLI for about a year until he became very ill with a respiratory illness. He didn't have COVID. It was COVID during this time, but he didn't have COVID, and he was taken to the hospital and intubated immediately and was on life support for a couple weeks before he ended up passing away. And this was extremely traumatic because I was never able to say goodbye. I could not go to the hospital to visit him or anything with all the COVID precautions. And so there was just one night at QLI where I helped him to bed, thinking I would see him next time I worked, and I never saw him again. So that was just extremely traumatic because we were very close. And then a few months after that, my cousin, who was like a brother growing up, committed suicide. And so again, never really saw it coming or anything. He was one of the happiest people I've ever met in my life. And so again, very traumatic. And I think with both circumstances, considering that they were so close together, I just kind of put it under the rug. Of course, I was sad, but I never really handled it properly. I never reached out when I definitely should have for counseling and therapy. So throughout this class, I'm definitely eager to learn about the grieving process and the 5 steps of grief, because they are certainly very real, and it's really important to understand them so you can recognize the feelings and the emotions that you're going through after you lose a loved one. So that's one thing I'm really eager to looking forward to learning about in this class. Regarding, I was able to relate a little bit with Amanda when with her podcast when she mentioned how she just wanted to keep her husband alive, which of course makes sense in that circumstance. You want to keep somebody with you as long as you can. However, it made me think a little bit about the resident from QLI, his situation, how miserable he was, and of course I wish he was still here and I miss him dearly, but recognizing that he was so incredibly depressed with the situation that he was in and was never going to probably be able to walk again or anything, and he was such an active person, just recognizing how it's hard to not be selfish and want to keep somebody around just because you want them around. And I think that's really important to recognize with patients who are terminally ill and just absolutely in pain and suffering every single day, and how important it is to recognize and grant their wishes rather than trying to keep them around because we love them and we want them here, and just recognizing that death is a natural thing, and how it should be a goal of ours as family and friends who care about people to recognize and appreciate their wishes around these circumstances. And I think another goal I have throughout this course is just learning how to accept death and all of the different circumstances that cause death, and just recognizing that life is so precious and how we must make every moment count and just live life to the fullest.